The Taste of Things is a romantic period film about a gourmet's relationship with his cook of 20 years. So this movie takes place in late 19th century France, where Eugene, a very talented chef, cooks with her boss Dodin every day, creating some of the most delightful dishes to ever appear on the big screen. The two of them seem to have some sort of relationship. They live together, but in separate rooms. They occasionally engage romantically, and Dodin sometimes likes to ask her to marry him. I know that it probably just sounds like they're together, but it's a little hard to tell because dating culture was certainly different back then, but also sometimes their relationship just seems platonic, and then other times it seems a bit intimate. So the two of them cook together, and Dodin enjoys these meals with his very wealthy associates, all while Eugene's health is silently declining behind the scenes. So I could easily say that this movie is about love or food, and that would probably be an accurate description, but more than anything, I think this movie is actually about passion. It's about two people who have a passion for the art of cooking that transcends their passion for one another and the unity of sharing a meal with those close to you. The way that cooking is depicted in this movie is with very meticulous care and admiration for the craft. Because cooking is an art form, and as this film illustrates, it's not just something that you taste, it's something that you see the beauty of. So this is one of the most visually beautiful movies I've ever seen. The food prep makes for astonishing visuals, and in the whole wealthy 19th century French shell, it's just cinematic gold. That said, the cooking scenes actually occupied like a solid 40 or 50% of the movie, which really put the whole Dodin Eugene love story on the back burner. Pun intended. At first, I was pretty unsure about how I felt about the story seemingly being overshadowed by these very long cooking montages, but the more I came to grasp that the film's core subject was focusing on their passion for cooking and not necessarily their relationship, the more I realized that it actually just totally makes sense. The cooking montages still ran quite long though, and that's where I think this movie will lose a lot of viewers completely, because I really gotta drive this point home. These scenes are not brief by any means. The movie starts off with a long cooking montage that really does capture your attention, but then about 30 minutes later, you're just gonna snap out of it like, is this the same scene? That's when it becomes clear that the movie is primarily carried by visual storytelling. It's a movie that really demands an appreciation for visual stimulus in film. But movies like this are very welcome in my opinion when the industry is just so crowded out by movies that either rely on CGI and explosions for spectacle or just don't really have much spectacle at all. So story-wise, this movie focuses on Dodin, who is a very pretentious foodie. He and his buddies like to relish in the meals that he and Eugene craft, but then ridicule a meal that was literally made for royalty. He and Eugene are faced with the task of returning the favor, preparing a meal for a very high-profile associate of his, all while they continue to discuss what their relationship is to be. For much of the film, Eugene and Dodin didn't really share a whole lot of screen time together, especially when you think about how much time Dodin was spending with his friends, but I actually ended up really appreciating that. It made those moments that they did share feel a lot more special and intimate. It really showed us the two sides of Dodin, how on the surface he's incredibly pretentious, but deep down, he's a tender romantic. Their dialogue is very poetic, which speaks to the snooty 19th century upper class culture that Dodin lives in. He often sounds very melodramatic, which occasionally triggers a reaction in Eugene, who likes to balk at him for how snooty he sounds sometimes. Eugene was almost the saving grace of this story, but she occasionally plays ball with Dodin and spits out very profound dialogue herself, like, "I'm in the summer of my life, and when I leave, it will still be summer." Yeah, again, it's the times and their culture that makes this dialogue feasible. If this took place in our time, it would really just feel like a cinematic soap opera. So the cinematography was perfect for this type of movie. There's a lot of buttery smooth camera moves, parallaxing around beautiful, warmly lit dishes, sometimes while they're being consumed, but they generally avoided shooting the subjects' faces while they were eating, which was very much appreciated. Being someone who has shot plenty of events as a freelance filmmaker and photographer where lots of people are eating, I am definitely the type of person to get triggered by unflattering footage of people eating in movies where the footage wasn't really actually meant to be unflattering. So going into this, I was expecting a very visually beautiful movie, but I was also a little bit worried that there was gonna be a lot of ugly chewing. Thankfully, there was not though. There was one notable scene where the subjects are quietly eating on camera, but considering the context of the scene, it actually made total sense. It was supposed to feel a little bit tense and awkward. So this is definitely one film that you have to be in a very specific mood to enjoy. You really have to be in the mood for a pretentious, arguably self-indulgent, artsy-fartsy film. You definitely have to be cool with the narrative story being muddled by long cooking montages. The story is there, it just comes second to the visual story that some might describe as cinematic food erotica, we'll call it since we're on YouTube. Overall, this was a beautiful film that will certainly put you in the mood for some fine dining. It's pretty good. I was pretty mid on it for a while, but in the end, it gave me pretty warm feelings, so I think it earns a positive rating. If you like period pieces and you can get behind visual storytelling, then this is a must watch. But if you're mostly into popcorn films that are driven by a more involved story, then this one might not really be for you. Thank you for watching this review. If it brought you any value at all, please consider giving it a like. It really does help the channel grow. I'll see you later this week with my review of Drive Away Dolls.